Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Two for Talking podcast. I'm your host, Corey Tusick. I've got Josh Yohe with The Athletic alongside, and we're going to talk a little bit about Sidney Crosby because he wrote a litany of articles about Sidney during his birth week. And then I've got Joe Bartnick he is the comedian. He'll be at the Boston Comedy Studio August, 26th, Joe?
23rd,
23rd.
Saturday.
23rd, this Saturday at the Boston Comedy Studio. Please check him out there and go to joebartnick.com for more shows and updates. And gentlemen, there's a couple of articles that, Josh wrote. It was great for Sidney's birthday. We got an article every day of the week. That was very kind of you, Josh. It kept us all entertained and kept us busy in the dog days of August. And I wanted to start with the story you told a couple untold stories of Sid, but the story you did where it was the last game at Mellon Arena, and I kind of want to start there and just kind of recapping, everything, because you kind of can look forward into the future like you did. You said that looked like a guy who's going to win more, but also like what had just happened, all the injuries that were just about to happen. It was just a weird time in Penguin history, and I'll expand upon what that was like.
It was. First of all, the star of this show tonight is Joe's shirt. I can tell Joe has a gig tonight because that is a fabulous shirt he's wearing. I can feel it 3,000 miles away. I'm very impressed with the attire this evening, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Yohe. You're always the star of this show. Never ever forget that.
Yeah, the Sid stuff. Listen, August is the worst month for hockey writers, or the best month if you're a hockey writer who wants some time off. It's really the one month of the hockey calendar when there's nothing going on. There's no trades. There's obviously no games. There's no training camp yet. It's the dead zone. So I told my boss, I said, I'm bored. I feel like writing stuff. Like, I'll just write a bunch of Sid stuff because he has blessed us in so many ways, including being born in August. So you can, write, a bunch of Sid stuff in August and have some content for the readers. And that story in particular, it's one of those stories. Like I'm fortunate. I get to, see these guys when the cameras aren't on and get to see stuff that other people don't see. And that's just one that for me is vivid in my mind. And a lot of fans remember this game when the Penguins shut down Mellon Arena by losing to the Canadiens, the team they played their first ever game against in that same building, and they lost both of them. 2010, of course, Game 7 when the Penguins lost at home. And I was there forever that night, writing my articles, and I kind of, wanted to do like one last lap in the Mellon because I was, my last ever time in that building. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I got to be in Mellon for the last time, Joe. So I walked around, and it was pitch black. I mean, all the lights were out. It's midnight, whatever. And all of a sudden, I stopped, and I saw there were like, you get that feeling when like, you get goosebumps, like, oh, somebody's watching me. And I was just walking kind of through the crowd, and I looked, and I come upon Sidney Crosby sitting beside Troy, his father. I'm like, oh, man, that's something you don't see every day. And the look on Sid's face is something I will never forget. I mean, he just had this look on his face like it was the first time he'd ever lost a series. And, of course, it wasn't. He lost to Detroit a couple of years earlier in the final and lost to Ottawa before that. But you could just tell how much it hurt him. And to this day, like, granted, they haven't been in the playoffs in a few years, but the look on his face compared to other people's faces when they do lose, it just hits him harder. It just does. Everyone says winning's all they care about, and not everyone really means it. In his case, he really does. And that was a moment when I think I fully appreciated, man, this kid's wired a little differently than the rest of us.
And it took so long for PPG Place or Console Energy to become a home ice advantage as well. It took until Mike Sullivan to make it home. It was almost like we were cursed. It was almost the curse of the effeminate pigeon logo was coming back to haunt us.
That's a good point. No, it's true because, I mean, for those of us who are old enough to remember going to games at the Igloo, it's been 15 years now, which is hard to believe. There was a real home ice advantage there. I've had so many players over the years tell me you felt like the crowd was on top of you there. And I think that was the case in a lot of the old buildings. And that's the problem with the new buildings, Joe. A lot of them are very fancy and very nice, but they're all the goddamn same. And PPG is nicer than most of them, but they don't feel unique. You don't, feel anything special in most of these buildings.
Sure, and there's a lot of reasons to it. I think the architecture is one thing. And I also think the clientele of the Civic Arena is a lot different than the clientele of a PPG Arena. And it's no one's fault. It's just that some people's kids and infants have more money than people who actually work for a living.
That's right.
And they can get the good seats and they can cheer. But I will say on a few occasions, and most notably playoff games and final series, and say Yager Night and other big events, I think it does get pretty loud in there, and it's fine with me. And if they need to sell $400 tickets to keep up with the salary cap, then I guess we're going to have a few infants in the 100 level.
No, that's the way it is. And my earliest memories of the Igloo, like I was born in 1980. So I remember going to games when I was 8, 9 years old in 88, 89. I can still smell the cigarette smoke from the concourses. It was a different crowd, especially, pre-Stanley Cup years. I mean, that was a real blue collar hockey crowd. And you don't see that anymore. Even at the end of the Igloo years, it was more of a white collar crowd. And now, my God, I mean, it's everyone you walk past on the concourse is from Sewickley or Fox Chapel or Peterstown. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's like a Churchill Country Club social.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
but when we were, I remember being warned. In my family always had Steelers season tickets, and that was not a problem, and you can imagine that. But we were just, warned about going to the Civic Arena with that, and we were still allowed to go because it was the 70s and 80s without any parental guidance. We were still allowed to go, but it was a different animal down there. It was just different people. It was.
There was a highly drunken crowd. I mean, it was. I remember there were people liquored up everywhere at those games. Nowadays, people have one little wine cooler and that's enough or whatever. I mean, that's
well. In all honesty, wine cooler costs as much as 4 beers used to.
That is if not more.
Yeah. I mean, just the cushioning in the seats. It was it was always just like a ripped up old bus in the ghetto. Just every seat was just ripped in. I don't even know how they could get the cuts the way they were. Like the stuffing coming out, just that orange. Now, have you seen the guy that recreates? I put him on my Instagram. He recreates old hockey barns using the Rod hockey games.
Yes.
If anybody's watching, they can go to. I think it's Old Hockey. I follow him and I kind of repost him on Instagram. I only follow a few people, so you can find him. He takes the old Rod. I call him Rods. We call him Bubble, and he puts those rinks and he creates the atmosphere like he's doing in the Boston Garden right now in the Saddle Dome. It's incredible.
Has he done Mellon?
Not yet, but that's what I was thinking, Corey. I wonder how he's going to do, because you got to do the post Lemieux section F, where you're like in outer space.
Yes.
It's like as scary as riding the incline.
And yet there was something great about those seats. I mean, and it's funny when, you mentioned Mellon when it was falling apart at the end, and it was. I've never felt more strongly about a building, when you think about it, there are some buildings you have to replace it, but you really don't want to. Like that was Mellon, because you knew, and I got to see it in the locker room area. It was a dump. It was literally falling apart. So they needed to move on. But I knew I was going to miss it, and I do. And that's why you mentioned the Saddle Dome. That's why Calgary is one of my favorite trips, because it's about the only old building left. You still get that smell. I don't know how to describe the smell. It's kind of like some beer and some urine, and I don't know. It's all mixed together, just like an old hockey building smell. That's the only place left, and I smell it every time I walk into the Saddle Dome. And the Penguins still have, I think, 2 games left there because they're getting a new building. I think it'll be ready in 2 years, but I will miss it because now they all smell nice and pristine, and that's great. But I kind of miss the old places, no doubt.
I always attributed that to the urinal troughs. At Mellon, I was like, there's got to be something like the urinal troughs mixed with some jalapeno, and a little bit of cigarette smoke.
I mean, the curtains. That could be like a Pittsburgher cologne. The smell of those big curtains from the arena.
Yes,
it was it's cigarettes and beer and whatever cheap floozy rink rat perfume was going on in 1978.
By the way, I ripped down one of those. I shouldn't admit this, but as an usher, I ripped down one of those curtains after was it Steckel that scored Game 6 against the with the Capitals in
Overtime?
2009.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was Steckel. After that goal, I maybe got a little angry. I wasn't the best usher in the world. Let's just put it
Wow.
that way.
Professional time from Corey.
Yeah.
No, but that's I miss the place. I do. But that's getting back to the original story though. That was one of those things. I have a lot of Sid stories, just covering him for 16 years now. It's been but that was one that always stood out to me. Just like him sitting there in the darkness, just filled with absolute rage that they lost that game. That one, to this day, that one still bugs him a little bit. I know it does.
Oh, yeah, nothing. I mean, it bothers all of us. And then the other story that you mentioned, I mean, there's two other ones, but the Brian Reeves scoring a goal and leaving his garage door open. The way that I read that, am I interpreting it correctly? Because you were pretty blunt about it. That's exactly like Sid was like baffled that he wouldn't leave his garage door open, and into the backstory to it, you can give that. But
Yeah, it was one day after practice. Ryan Reeves had scored the night before, and I think he only scored 3 or 4 goals with the Penguins, so it wasn't a regular occurrence. And Mike Sullivan wasn't letting him play that much anyway, as I recall. And Reeves was always very chatty with the media, very personable guy, And he said, "Yeah," he said, "I left my garage door up last night. I couldn't believe it. I got home and my garage door was up." And Sid was like, "Well, you scored last night." And he's like, "Yeah." Then Sid was like, "Well, you're going to leave the garage door up every home game now, right?" And Reeves was like, "Are you crazy?" "No, why would I do that?" And he just kind of walked away. And Sid was just shaking his head. He looks at me. He's like, and they say I'm the crazy one. It's like, how can you not leave your garage door open? I said, "Well, it's February. I mean, that might have something to do with it." But Sid was just absolutely incensed. He is superstitious to the core, and when other players aren't superstitious, I think that just confuses him. He just doesn't understand why everybody isn't like him in that way.
Reeves didn't want that expensive DJ equipment stolen. Get some turntables in there.
Oh
He was
god,
traded like 2 weeks after that, by the way. So that was I think that was his final goal with the Penguins, and my final memory of Ryan Reeves, because he was not long for the Penguins, and that was the day the music died, by the way, when he and Ian Cole were traded, and Gustafsson and a first round pick, all for Derek Brassard. That was a dark day.
We all remember that day where I was at. I was flying over the Pacific Ocean. I was in first place when I left LAX. I landed in Seoul with Derek freaking Brassard. I knew that was it. It was like the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost took the last train for the coast the day the music died. "Oh, I don't want to play second line." Yeah. Well, on this team, you're a third line center. It still pisses me the F off. On my other podcast, we had a list of our 15 most hated players, and 5 had to be from your team. Number 1 for me, always Derek Brassard.
Oh, I remember at some point, I don't know if it was in the regular season or the playoffs, I don't remember now. They actually put him on Sid's line for a few games just to pacify him, I think. And he did okay there, because anybody would do okay on Sid's line. But of course, that's not why they acquired him. They never replaced Nick Bonino. And I'm not saying they should have kept Bonino, because his body was breaking down. But if you know your Penguins history, they better have a good third line center if they want to win a cup, whether it's Trotz or Jordan Stahl or Bonino. They always got major contributions. And Derek Brassard, unfortunately for the Penguins, was not interested in playing that role, was he, Joe?
No, he was not. It was such a bitter pill to swallow. You knew it was over. You just knew it was over. Not the guy to get. You can always tell the deadline who picks the wrong guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I want to ask you guys this: what happens if Oscar Sundqvist stays? If that Ryan Reeves trade doesn't go through, do you think he fills that role on the third line to a degree? I mean, he would certainly
really.
The way he ended up.
I mean, he was an okay fourth line center. He was a good fourth line center. I don't know if he was really good enough to be a third line center the way the Penguins needed him. Maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
He would have been the best option, I guess, of all the people they had. But that's what happens with cup teams. Though eventually you start making moves, and not everyone is going to hit, unless you're Bill Zito, of course, in which case everything that you do seems to work. And in their case, they've not really had to do anything different with their team. They're just keeping it together because why wouldn't they? But yeah, Derek Brassard. And you know what's funny, Joe? I got a call. It's like honestly 10 minutes after that trade. I got a phone call from a pretty prominent NHL agent who told me this guy's a cancer. It's not going to work. You watch. He's not going to be happy being on a third line. And that was very much the truth.
Oh, he's one of several clubhouse cancers. I can spot him a mile away. Oh, why has he been on 4 teams? But some people love him. Exactly. It'd be a great podcast one day because Josh, you have all the inside information. And we really know. It really can break it down better than me. I just have emotions and some comedic timing, hopefully. What were the moments? Like, what are the biggest moments that caused the demise? Like, what's the one thing you can pinpoint? Maybe the biggest thing. And Brassard, yes, but to never be close again. Brassard was the beginning of the real. It was like, okay, we're not going to be incredible again. But the real beginning, in my mind, of when, wow, we're in a down spiral, was when JR. Not that he has to stay for life. He's not a Supreme Court justice. He's not, but he never gave Guerin an extra $1 million to be the GM in waiting. I think that, a lot of teams have that guy.
Well, no, there's no doubt about that. I mean, you look at the Penguin staff, like in 2016 or 15, 16, whatever. During that time, they had, it wasn't just Rutherford. It was Guerin. It was Fitzgerald. It was Botterill. Like, all these guys who would go on to be GMs, all who would have been far better than Ron Hextall, that's for sure.
That's my point.
I know. But that's what happens when things are going well. You end up, I think, not thinking about the future maybe as much as you should because you're just living in the moment and trying to win. And in Jim's case, I don't know if Jim really knew when he wanted to walk away. And obviously things got a little crazy at the end of his time in Pittsburgh. But no, I mean, Billy's a good GM. There's no doubt about that. He's been, he's had his hands tied behind his back in Minnesota, and he still fields a playoff team every year. There's no doubt there's something to be said for that. And I think Tom Fitzgerald's really good too. I think Jersey was the victim of a lot of injuries last year, but he's built a pretty darn good team there. So Jim was the greatest, but boy, he certainly had quite the supporting cast back in the day, did he not?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I thank Rutherford. I mean, next to Sullivan, I thank him the most. I don't blame him. I don't know what happened, but I don't blame him. But everyone to leave. Okay, Jim, thank you for everything. I just wish there was a succession plan in order that didn't involve a spy from Philadelphia, a special needs goaltender.
Yeah, well, the Penguins had a lot of special needs whenever he was in town. Yeah, I love Jim. It kind of reminds me, like, it felt like Jim was the Wild West and he had a bunch of people around him that were like, no, don't pull the trigger there. Like, kind of kept him in check a little bit, but still let him run wild and have the balls to do some stuff that there's a reason his name's in the Hall of Fame,
Oh, but, ultimately, yeah. I mean, Jim, I suppose, listened to his staff. But I know for a fact that he ultimately still always did what he wanted to do, and they would just kind of, buckle up like they were going on the Thunderbolt and just hang on for the ride. And Jim's going to do something a little crazy here. I think we did an article one time, if I'm not mistaken, in Jim Rutherford's first 50 months as Penguins GM, he made 50 trades. He made one trade a month for 50 years or 50 months. Like that was a pretty incredible thing. But that's Jim. And Ray Shero was like that a lot too, by the way. He was more like Jim than a lot of people care to remember.
I had that article favorited on my favorites list for about 2 years until I realized, okay, it's too late to use that as a podcast topic. Like, enough time has passed. Oh, yeah. But we can all say that, and I am not here to knock Mr. Dubas because I think Dubas has done I give him a B-, a B. And I think he's had some bounce back. But I don't think Rutherford ever made a mistake as bad as Dubas' couple of mistakes. But I don't want to make the show today a referendum on Dubas. But I mean, for all of his craziness, he didn't really make any glaring idiotic mistakes, unless I'm just looking back like old relationships. Like, it was all great. I don't remember the bad parts.
Well, and Jim could talk his way out of bad trades with other GMs, and they would help him out. I mean, that was certainly part of his genius. He would screw something up, and then he would make it right. He did it all the time. Not everybody has that gift, but everybody loves him around the league, and that's why. I've had so many people tell me, "Well, we like Jim. That's why we do deals with him." Sometimes it's that simple. It's just the human side of it.
Well, maybe this is a referendum then in this next 3 minutes. But like, I mean, like everybody hated, Sid's partner. I'm spacing his name now. His bodyguard from St. Mary's Shaddocks, Jack Johnson. Oh. Right. Everybody hated Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson is Ray Bork compared to the guy from New Jersey right now. Summer programming's got me looped. You know what I mean? I mean, come on now. Oh. You would take Jack Johnson on this defense right now.
Well, Twitter's going to get very mad at you for saying that, but
compared to Ryan Graves.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I've had people fight with me. I've said a couple of times in my comments section that the Jack Johnson contract wasn't good, but Graves is probably the worst contract in franchise history. And I've actually had a lot of people try to argue with me that the Johnson contract was worse, which is total bullshit. Like, it was bad, but to give Ryan Graves 6 years, $4.5 million, like, come on, this guy. I mean, he's literally one of the worst NHL defensemen I've ever seen the last 2 years. That's not hyperbole. I actually mean that.
No, he's terrible. And the fact was Jack Johnson looked worse than he really was. He was just in a lot of high pressure situations that he probably shouldn't have been in.
That's right.
If that makes any sense. He was on a very good team and exposed as a 5'6" defenseman when it really mattered. Graves just stand in somebody's way, and he would look better than most of the guys on this team, and he can't even do that.
Well, and for all of Johnson's deficiencies, at least he was tough.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, he was always Sid's bodyguard when they were kids, and he brought that element. He would block shots, he could kill penalties. I've never seen a guy as big as Graves just get pushed around in front of the net. The man must not have a violent bone in his body, because he just stands there and takes it. It's I've never seen anything quite like it. No, I agree with you about Dubas. Like, I'd probably give him about the same grade as you on the whole. He just had one really, really, really bad day when he took over the day he gave Jari the extension and then he signed Graves. That was a bad day, and the Penguins are still paying for it now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say that the Jari one is like probably the worst signing ever. The Graves one probably.
That was, the whole 6 years was, in retrospect, I thought it was a little curious at the time, but now it's like, whoa, what was the scouting report on this guy? I would love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, unless your name's Cale Makar, I don't know why you have to give anybody 6 years.
Right.
But I was, I did not think he was that bad. I mean, he played, I thought, much better in Colorado.
Yes.
In Jersey, everyone looks like they play defense. Every score's 2-0. Like, who knew that he was as bad as he was?
Nobody could have predicted he was going to be this bad. That's for sure.
Yeah, now we know.
It's we all make mistakes, We've all had all tripped over the starting gate once or twice. Yeah. So poor Mr. Dubas, rough start to his tenure here. The last part before we get to Mr. Bill Neofis, in the NHL quarter century and NHL Network's quarter century list. Last one is you talked about Sid. I'll give the general story. It was a rainy day in November, and everybody else buzzed by, fans who were waiting for autographs. He stopped and kind of talk about that. But like, how many times have you, Josh, seen Sid go out of his way to make a fan's day?
I'll go back to Jim Rutherford, who once told me, in all of his 55 years in the National Hockey League, the single most impressive thing he has ever seen is the way Sidney Crosby treats kids. And we always talk about, you can really see what people are all about when the cameras aren't on. I've seen Sid so many times when the cameras aren't on. He could blow people off, whatever. Not one time And that particular time, just little stuff you remember, was around Thanksgiving, pouring down rain after a practice outside of his last season at the Mellon. And these kids wanted an autograph, and there's Sid. He gets out of his car and he's posing for a picture while it's like pouring down rain on him, while the rest of his teammates are just getting the hell out of Dodge. See stuff like that all the time. I've told the story on here before about in Calgary one year he ran up an icy hill to pose for a picture with these kids who were wishing him good luck in the Olympics, and then he stood up there and talked with them for 10 minutes. It was like negative 20 degrees. Like it's just how he is. Like there's a sincerity to him that is different. Like there are guys who do that stuff for the cameras, who look good, who will take the camera crew with them to Children's Hospital when they're there every week, like a certain quarterback last season in Pittsburgh. Sid goes to Children's Hospital all the time too, but nobody knows about it because he doesn't bring the camera crew with him. That's just the way he is. Not saying that makes you a bad guy if you bring a camera crew, but I am saying it probably makes you a good person if you don't. And you do things the way Sid does. He's just different than the rest of us. I've so many guys. Borky and I always talk about. Borky always says, "Man, I've done some wild things in my life. I need a what would Sid do thing on my wristband, so I can just look at my wrist and then think about Sid and what he would do, because he always makes the right decisions in life. That's just who he is."
I actually use the what would Sid do, and I missed a lot of first and second periods because of it. When I have to take a nap or worry about my act, or catch the early train, and it's like
being responsible.
He's like, well, Sid would want me to worry about my career. He wouldn't want me to make sure that I watch the first 2 periods before I get in my car, or not take my pregame nap, or I'm not going to review my set. I'm just going to watch the game. Yeah, I always Sid's holier than thou, literally.
Yeah, he actually is.
Yeah. It just it comes like you, Josh. You've said it a million times. Few people are actually as good as that. Like whenever people puff them up and they're so great, and then it's like, no, this is one of those guys. He's just he's a good dude. And I can tell you, I've seen some experiences. I'll just not give any details, but I've seen people in my different walks of life where the cameras were told to be off, and they just looked a little deflated, let's just say.
Yeah. No, you never want to meet your heroes, right? I mean, there's a danger there. I always tell people, if you want to buy your kid the 87 jersey, you're fine. You're fine. If Sid ever gets in trouble or gets arrested or treats somebody in the rude fashion, Armageddon is here. I am convinced of that, because he is cut from an entirely different cloth.
Yeah. Sid's the best. So I just wanted to review some of those stories and get a little more detail from you. But before we're going to talk about the quarter century team. We've got the NHL Network. They published their quarter century team. Before we get into that, we do got to talk about the Mr. Bill Neofis, who I could tell you, because I just got a new car recently, and I reached out to him and he had answers immediately. So, Josh, you know better than anyone. Mr. Bill Neofis is the best in insurance.
I'm not surprised that you had that kind of experience, Corey, because Bill is indeed the best. In fact, I had lunch with Bill the other day at Burgatory in the North Hills. I like to have lunch with Bill once a month, and we, catch up on sports, and we end up just quoting Slapshot the entire afternoon. That's, you have to be careful which quotes you're using from Slapshot, of course, given the company of, want to offend people at the table beside you. But yes, it was wonderful to get together with Bill. And for those of you who don't know, our great insurance man, our friend, I like to say at this point, our sponsor, Bill Neofis, neofisinsurance.com. They are located in the North Hills, 412-364-3388. Whatever your insurance need is, whatever you can think of, I guarantee they will provide it for you, and they will do it in a way that just makes you feel a little bit better about your situation, that they just have a great way about them. So neofisinsurance.com. Go to Bill. I promise he'll take care of you.
Thanks, Bill. Before we talk quarter century team, real quick note: were there any moves on your NHL City list? For those of you that don't check it out on The Athletic, it's one of the best articles. I haven't read the full thing yet. That's why I'm asking you. You mentioned a little bit about Vegas. Vegas is starting to have there's the shine coming off of the new team.
No, it has nothing to do with the team. It just has to do with the city itself. And I love Vegas. I'm a Vegas guy. I know Joe's a Vegas guy too. But the prices in Vegas since COVID They are really pricing out a big chunk of America, and it's a very big problem as far as I'm concerned. Last couple of times I've been in Vegas, Joe, like I could go on a cruise, for 2 weeks or go to Europe, and it would be half the price to be in Vegas for 3 or 4 nights. The days of the $10 prime rib are long, long gone.
Oh, I'm on that to remember the days of the $299 prime rib steak and egg breakfast. I remember when you could play $5 blackjack all night.
Well, those are the days.
Yeah.
I mean, no, Vegas is pricing itself out. So it's not that no, the venue is wonderful. It's one of the best arenas in the league. It's awesome, and that city is in love with that team. So no, that's nothing. They're still number 3 on the list. Vegas is still very, very high on my personal list, but I had to get a little shot in at the resort fees and all that bullshit. I'm getting really tired of it. So Montreal still number 1 is always my favorite NHL city. But I think what was last. I think Newark came in dead last this year. Yeah, somebody has to do it. Newark just seemed like the right place.
Yeah, Newark does that for everybody. I've got in-laws in Newark. They're just they're actually looking to move too. Then nobody wants to be there. So the quarter century team, NHL Network, put out their quarter century team, and I got the image here. So put that up. But Joe, I know you've probably got thoughts on who's missing, who should be there. So take it away, Joe.
Thank you, Corey. Josh, as you remember, last time, maybe about a month ago, we talked about when the NHL itself put out their quarter century team. And it was just so heavily laden with goaltenders that played, like last century and creeped into this century. And a lot of guys that I thought did most of their damage in the league last century. And I just thought that they should really concentrate on players that played after the strike or after the lost season, basically in the Sid and OV, and if you're a Penguins fan, the Sid and Gino era. And I think the NHL Network absolutely did that properly because, as you will see, there's no Brodeur, there's no Waugh. There's no Nick Lindstrom. We can all agree Nick Lindstrom is since Bobby Orr, the greatest defenseman ever and the best defenseman I've ever seen, although Cale Makar is close. So I think this list absolutely is the proper list. I only have a few things to maybe think about, Josh, but in general, I think it's dead on. We have Patrice Bergeron. I always crap on Patty, but he can be there. I'm not going to argue. Sid, Datsuk, Leon Draisaitl, Patty Kane, Andrei Kopitar, Nikita Kucherov. Then we have Nathan McKinnon, Gino, McJesus, Ovi, and Stamkos. Now, of course, we don't have Perry. We don't have Getzlaf. We don't have the Rat. Okay.
No Taves.
I don't have any problem with these guys. No, Jonathan Taves, because they had to have Patrice Bergeron on, even though he's only won 3. He's only one cup, Josh. He's a given. Pierre Maguire would jump off a bridge. You know how many big face-offs Patrice Bergeron won in October?
Joe, my initial reaction anytime I see one of these lists, I immediately think, oh God, here we go. How bad is it going to be? And then I looked at it, I said, I don't have a lot of gripes. You could argue Fleury over Quick. That's actually kind of an interesting conversation, I think.
Oh yeah. So I was just doing forwards.
The forwards though, that looks pretty perfect to me.
That's what I'm saying. You want to say Rat? I was a big Getzlaf, but Getzlaf that can't knock any of these guys off. The Rat can't. I think Taves, but Taves is kind of coming back to. I think now he's almost underrated in a way.
Oh yeah,
he was so overrated.
I think that's really happened with him. I said that not too long ago. He was certainly, 2014, 15, people were comparing him to Crosby, which is outrageous. But now, 10 years after that, it's like, he was really good. That guy was as clutch as it got at the playoffs. He really was.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, that forward list though, on the surface, who would you take out? I'm glad Kopitar is getting the appreciation he deserves by being on that list.
And Cooch. They got Cooch in there.
Yeah, how Kucherov, honestly, he was awful in the playoffs this past year. But boy, you look at his numbers the last 5 years, what he's done. I mean, this is a first ballot Hall of Famer, no question.
He wasn't on the NHL's list. Are you gonna be kidding me?
Well, he's not from Saskatchewan. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say, imagine if he was from Thunder Bay.
He's first in every statistical category except like assists for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And he might be. I know Ovechkin is the best, maybe other than Mario, the best power play goal scorer ever. But I think Kucherov is the best power play player in many ways since Mario and Gretzky. Just the way he controls the play. I know McDavid's great on the power play, but that's just because of his physical ability. Kucherov is just his mind. I haven't seen a guy be that far ahead of the play probably since Mario. Like just the way he reads the play on the unbelievable on the power play and just a point machine.
Yeah, he's like half Datsuk, half Malkin.
Yeah.
No, that's a good comparison.
And his mean streak is legendary.
Yes.
You think Gino flies off the handle? He'll fly off the handle and take a 2-minute major. Cooch flies off the handle and it's like he doesn't get a 10-game suspension. I love Cooch.
What about with Bergeron though? Like, and not having the rat on there, like where would as a Boston fan, where does Marchand rank in? Like, I would put Marchand ahead of Bergeron just in the Bruins. You know, like I don't. I mean, is that
I would too, Corey, but they don't.
Because they love Bergeron that much.
It's an interesting debate, but I also think Marchand, especially in these past few months, if he needed to add to his legacy, I don't know if he needed to, but he sure did. What he did with Florida, he could have been given the Conn Smythe and nobody would have complained. He certainly did something to his legacy during these last few months, no question.
Fellas, here's the bigger slight in Boston. Here's the defenseman. Drew Doughty, Hedman, Duncan Keith, Cale Makar, Pietrangelo, Shea Weber. The only one I can think who's missing, I could be wrong, you guys may think it's one, Zdeno Chara.
Joe, I would take Chara over Weber any day of the week.
Yeah. 1 billion.
And Pietrangelo.
Yeah, and I don't like what Pietrangelo did to Leon 3 years ago, but I think I take Pietrangelo over Weber any day of the week. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I just looking at that list. Makar, Keith, Hedman, Doughty. I don't have a problem with any of those four. Chara's got to be on that list, though. I'm sorry. That guy. I mean, one of the greatest defensive defensemen the game's ever seen. But look at his numbers offensively too. He could do it all, and at his size and the way I grew a particular appreciation for him just watching him play against Sid and Gino. He shut them down as well as anybody, which isn't to say that he shut them down, but on some nights he did. Like he was that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I tell the story all the time. Whenever there was no Game 5, I flew in for it. I ended up with a Pirate game with Bill Crawford because he double shifted in the Eastern Conference Finals. He played Sid and Gino. He was never not on the ice.
No,
he absolutely dominated them, and plus he led the NHL's fastest shot for like a decade.
Oh, yeah.
He was on the power play. It was like a nuclear weapon at the point. He put the fear of God in everybody. He was as big as Buff. I mean, he used to do 50 pull-ups at camp. It's a disgrace he's not on this list. And I have nothing against Weber or anybody else, but it's a disgrace that he's not on that.
Well, again, looking at that list, I see 5 out of 6 Team Canada guys.
Yep. I thought Shea Weber was way overrated. Like I think he was a good player.
He was really good. Yeah.
He was not as good as they made him out to be. And Zdeno Chara, like I heard people would try to crap on him and say like, well, it's just because he's so big. Well, you know what? I've seen a lot of people with that physical size. And how many times do we see that in any sport, especially guys that make it to college who are like 6'8", and they're like, well, let's give him a shot. And they don't have the ability to put it together. And that guy had the size, the ability to put it together, and he used it properly in every way, shape, and form. So hats off to him. And he's he's running the marathon or whatever, the Ironman challenge. So it's just, he's unbelievable.
A friend of a friend is best friends with him. He goes to all of his challenges. He's nuts.
He's an animal.
And
Good
through
thing.
that guy, I met Todd Angelelli, the singer for the anthem of Boston, and I think I'm going to the Kevin Stevens charity night.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
I can talk to Artie. No, but the thing about the Team Canada point is well taken, but everybody who ever thinks Letang has a chance of making the Hall of Fame.
Well, it certainly isn't on this list, and I mean, yeah, it is a fair point, Joe. Letang fascinates me. I've always thought that around the league he's probably underappreciated a little bit, but then in Pittsburgh he's probably overrated a little bit. People have varying opinions on him throughout the league, though. But he has not aged well in the last couple of years. There's certainly no doubt about that. And some of the guys on that list didn't age all that well, quite honestly. But I'm curious to see how well Cale Makar ages, because I think he's a little bit different than the rest of them. I think that guy 10 years from now might still be a superstar.
Well, what's funny, too, is Erik Karlsson's not on this list either.
No, he's not. Yeah, and that's a guy who's won the Norris 3 times this century.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I noticed that as well. He's the ultimate polarizing. You'll talk with some hockey people around the league, and they think he's the greatest defenseman they've ever seen. And you'll talk with others who literally have told me I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. So, I mean, I don't even know where to begin on Erik Karlsson.
You would need a 10-foot pole if you want to touch him in front of his own net.
There it is.
That's true. That's true. Now, goaltenders, Jonathan Quick and Andrei Vasilevsky. I don't think anybody's complaining about those two being on there, but Marcy, I hit the wrong comment, but Marcy, always with the comments, had posted before Josh even said anything. And where's Fleury? At the moment the graphic went up. I love it. It's hard to say, but why isn't Fleury on there?
I think Bobrovsky makes a bigger case than Flower.
Yeah, especially now.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you can look at it so many different ways. That Flower's going to be a tough one to analyze all time. He's a Hall of Famer, obviously. But few Hall of Famers have had as many valleys as he's had in his career. And a lot of peaks. But now, how many times has Flower been benched in a playoff? In a playoff year, it's happened 3 or 4 times. Like you can't say that about Brodeur or Waugh or Vasilevsky or Quick. That is true. And Vasilevsky, start with him. To me, he's the clear choice. You ask any guy around the league for the last 6 or 7 years now, who's the best goalie in the league? They immediately will tell you Vasilevsky without hesitation. And I'm talking like the best. You ask Sid, you ask Malk, and all these guys, they will tell you him. Like it's an afterthought that it would be anyone else. It's him. There's no question about it. His body of work, I think, speaks for itself.
Absolutely. And he made, in all clarity, Marcy, he made the NHL's official top team of the century. This is just the NHL Network's version, and they only took 2. And I think he's no lower than 4th, in probably 3rd.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean Bobrovsky, listen, he's interesting. He's won 2 cups. He's won Vezinas. He was also known as a playoff choke artist forever until the last 2 springs. So we can't ignore that, although I don't know how much of that was his fault. Like, he was playing for the freaking Columbus Blue Jackets against the prime Penguins. Like, I don't think there's any shame in losing that series. I don't know if that makes you a choke artist, but he certainly has done incredible things for his resume and is a no doubt Hall of Famer now. I think that's without question. And other people will bring up Lundqvist, of course. Did he ever win anything? No, other than the Olympics. No, I will argue that Lundqvist certainly never played on teams as good as Fleury. I mean, the Rangers never had that much talent when he was there. You can't deny that he was awfully good, but I don't have a problem with these two. And I think Quick, and since the Kings are your mistress team, Joe, I'll let you speak on him, but I think he was always really, really underrated. That guy in the playoffs, man. Boy, was he good.
I think that's a great point. That was funny is I immediately thought of Flower and Bobo for who didn't make it. I didn't even think once about Lundqvist because he never won a cup.
Right.
I mean, and neither did Carey Price, two gentlemen also on the original NHL's list. I think Quick makes this because, let's face it, Tampa Bay loaded, Florida loaded, Flower. Okay, Vegas, he was the show.
Yes.
The Penguins, I mean, loaded. I love Quickie, and I mean, I'm sorry, I love Kopitar, and I love Doughty, and they've made this list, and they earned every second of the list. But the next wave is not what the Penguins had, certainly not what Tampa Bay and Florida have. And Quickie made a lot of 10-bell saves and really Conn Smythe-worthy goaltender in those years. You know, he got the Conn Smythe, not Sid, not Gino. You know, it's like he was incredible. And really, if you want to take a little a little dessert, his play for the Rangers the last couple of years has been incredible. After really, I've said this many times, it was the end when he was in Phoenix, I believe, or wherever he was at. It was terrible. Me and Fraser shaking our head like, is this really happening to Quickie?
He really did incredible things with the Rangers, and the Rangers were not a great defensive team. Like every time he would play, his goals against was like 1.43. What's going on? Like he's really found himself again in New York. He's deserving to be on this list. And when I think of those Kings teams, more than anything, I just think about how damn hard they were to score against. And that all starts with the goaltender. I mean, yeah, they were really good defensively, but look at some of the teams they had to beat. They had to beat the Blackhawks along the way and all these great teams, and they don't do it without Jonathan Quick, I promise you.
No, the Blackhawks were that was, other than World Cup of hockey, to me the best hockey ever played.
I agree.
Was Chicago, the Kings, Western Conference Finals.
2014, I think it was. The Kings won Game 7.
Yes.
That series, in terms of quality of play, you're absolutely right. That was the series Brandon Saad went nuts. He was playing unreal hockey that series, and Kings won it in overtime in Game 7. That was great stuff, no question.
That's when I woke up cursing everything on earth when we didn't get when Saad went to Columbus. Rolled back over, woke up, we got Phil Kessel. The rest is history. I still can't believe Saad father never played for the Penguins.
Give it time, you never know. But
well, no, not with Dubas. I mean, not with Dubas.
No, it's amazing that none of the Pittsburgh kids, Saad, Trocheck, Gibson, Miller, and they all, I think, flirted with the idea of it at one point in time, but it just never worked out.
Yeah, it would be fun to see, but really, Bugsy is it? He's the local guy that's played for us. So, right. Oh my. Those lists they come out in the summertime so that we can all have something to talk about in the summertime, because we're all just sitting here waiting for training camp to start. Speaking of training camps, we'll shift gears to the Steelers for a second. Cam Hayward is holding in where he's showing up, and he wants a new contract extension. And Josh, I did mention this to you the other day, but it's not that hard of a story to write for the Steelers to get there, right? Like, I kind of threw that out there to you. I was like, am I crazy that it's not hard to look at the Steelers and go, you know what, I could write the story where they win the Super Bowl. And they've got these teams that you've got, good camaraderie. Everybody loves Aaron Rodgers. Everybody's coming together. And all of a sudden, Cam Hayward is throwing the juju off big time by demanding a new contract 12 months after he just got a new contract, claiming he's not getting paid enough, and he's not getting respected. All this stuff that's all me. And, I immediately thought to myself, there's two people that like to win championships that I know of in two different sports. Both great leaders, Tom Brady, Sidney Crosby. The two of them always take less money in order to win a championship. So then you have the Cam Hayward, who sits there, has never won anything, demanding to be respected for his performance. And I'm sorry, but I'd go, I don't know, this is extreme, but instead of acquiescing and giving what he wants, if I'm the Steelers, I strip the C off of him. I say, that's not a captain move.
Corey, may I butt in real quick?
Go for it.
I believe Mr. Roethlisberger also took less money.
Yes.
We don't even have to go to Mr. Brady. A Steeler took less money. Is that true, guys? I believe so.
He never pumped it for everything he could get.
Right. Well, let me say this. I don't think it makes you a bad leader if you don't take less money, but I do think it makes you a bad leader if you go about it the way Cam Hayward is right now. I don't know if I have much else to add to this. That everyone's talked about it ad nauseum for the last couple of weeks. I just think it's disappointing coming from him of all people.
Yep.
Because Cam, listen, I think he's a good man who's just making a mistake, who's handling himself poorly. I'm not going to rip Cam Hayward, the person. I'm all for people getting as much money as they can. We only live once. I get it. But for him to handle it, Joe, the way he did, to have that press conference where I just can't justify playing on for this rate. Like that's a bad look. I'm sorry. You have to be more aware than that, Cam. People don't understand what $15 million in 1 year is. It was just, and we expect more from him because he's always seemed like he's one of us, like he's a grounded human being. It just doesn't seem like him.
Well, I have a couple points on that. One is also Evgeny Malkin always took less money.
Yeah.
there's a lot of winners that take less money.
Yes.
I'm not going to knock Mr. Hayward personally because I'm not going to knock Cam Hayward off the field for anything. He's a man of the year. He does great charity work. Not knocking him at all off the field. But is there really proof that he's a great leader on the field? Like they never win.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
We hear he's a great leader, but what's he ever won?
I feel
he did play hard the last game of the year when I don't think very many other people did. But that was 1 of 8 years he never made the playoff or didn't win a playoff game.
Yeah, and I consider the Steelers over the past decade when he's been the leader of the team, if you will. And I find they've been very difficult to like. They've had a bunch of players be very disruptive, whether it be AB or Lev Bell or LeGarrette Blount or go down the list. I mean, there's too many to remember at this point, guys who have been problems. George Pickens. I feel like Cam enables them more than anything. I don't think, and maybe there's nobody out there who's a good enough leader to really control the locker room. Maybe that's more on Tomlin. Maybe they need to draft different caliber people. I don't know. But this whole situation, like, I'm sorry, like it's just common sense. The man signed a new deal a year ago. He's made close to $150 million in his career, and he basically comes out and says the Rooneys are disrespecting him. Like it's comical. It really is. It's going to turn the Steelers into a laughing stock when you have one of your most recognizable players, the indisputed leader of your team, behaving in this way right before a season, just getting greedy because he knows there's some money left under the cap and he wants to get his. And I hope the Steelers don't cave. What's he going to do? Sit out? He's not going to. He's going to play. I have no doubt. I bet you they bend a little bit and do something to keep him happy. But at one point, like, when does it end, Joe? Like, if DK Metcalf has 2 touchdowns against the Jets in week 1, is he going to hold out for more money in week 2 until he gets a new colleague? Seriously, where does it end with this? It's unbelievable to me.
Well, that's the problem. And I will go back to the 70s because he's no Mean Joe Green. No. You don't think there was characters in the locker room in the 70s? Who do you think controlled Lambert and Ernie Holmes?
Right.
And all those clowns, Frenchie Fuqua, Mean Joe Green.
That's right.
And you know what Dan Rooney did? Not Fredo Rooney, whatever. Like, you know what they did? They made Franco go play. They made Franco go play in Seattle, and they made Lambert. When Lambert sat out, they put him on special teams. The first game back. That's how you handle people.
Right.
No, Art Rooney's a wet paper. Art Rooney III is a wet paper towel. It walked right through him. It's embarrassing. He's already has a bonus. He's already been paid to play like 5 games this year.
It's never been the same for Art Rooney since the day he flew down to Miami and posed for that ridiculous photo with AB when AB was losing his mind. It's like, what are you doing? Just you got to let AB go. It's done. But I mean, listen, the Steelers have gotten rid of better players than Cam Hayward.
Cam Hayward's not even like the 5th best defensive tackle in Steeler history. I get on this case every week practically. I'm sick of all these. They don't line up anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is the franchise that said, "Now, Rod Woodson, we're not going to pay you anymore," and Franco, "Now we're not going to pay you that anymore." Yeah. That's just how the Steelers operate.
Franco Harris was told he could go play somewhere else. That's all you need to know. That's what Fredo should tell Cam Hayward. Hey, we let Franco walk away.
And we're in a really strange culture now where I don't know why this is or when it started. Maybe it's just a social media thing, but for most fans, the player's always right. They always have to defend the player no matter what. The player's never wrong. The ownership's always the bad guy. And sometimes ownership's the bad guy, sure. But I don't think that's always the case. And I see all these people on Twitter. I think most people are actually anti Cam Hayward on social media, but a lot of people are still, the Steelers are cheap and give Cam what he earned last year. Like that's not how contracts are supposed to work. You're supposed to base it on what you expect moving forward. Do you really expect 36-year-old Cam Hayward to play at that level for 17 games this season? I don't, and I don't know that the Steelers do. But it puts them in a terrible situation from a public relations standpoint because so many people are going to bitch if Cam doesn't get more money just because Cam wants more money.
Football and basketball are the only things on earth that don't go by a contract. The contracts don't matter. Try to break a 24-hour fitness contract.
Yeah, you're stuck in that forever.
Yeah, I mean, try to break a contract anywhere. I can't get a contract with a comedy club, Josh. You can't get out of your athletic contract. You can't say, "Hey, I had 5 million views on my Sid birthday. I want a raise." No, you have a contract.
Right. No, it's right. And for all the people, I know there's people out there right now saying, "Well, but NFL contracts aren't guaranteed." You know what? That's as much the NFL players' fault as anyone else. They're the ones who agreed to the new CBA every time. You could maybe hire somebody to lead the union who's not an idiot and not play until your contracts are guaranteed. I understand that's frustrating. I'm sure it is. But you agreed to it. That's the way it is. And in Cam's case, again, the guy's now made, $145 million? Really? I mean, and for him, and listen, he's been a wonderful player, but for him to come out and say, the Steelers laughed at me and I'm disrespected, like, shut up, Cam. Like, really? Like, you should be better than that.
Plus, I mean, is his eyesight as bad as mine? I thought that Benton guy and Harmon played pretty good.
They were fine.
I certainly don't think he's eerie. I mean, you're not Ben Roethlisberger.
That's actually what I was going to say is I think that might be why he saw, oh shit, I can get replaced now. Like I got to get mine.
Hey, that's a great point, Corey.
I think he knows it's at the end of his career and he's just trying to cash out one last time because he knows they've got money under the cap. And again, from a business standpoint, I get it. Go get your money, fine. But just the way he's handled it and just how arrogant he came across the other day and poo-pooing $15 million a year. Like, I'm sorry, Pittsburgh's still kind of a blue-collar town. I don't think people want to hear that. Like, a lot of people are struggling financially, and you have to, I don't want to play for $15 million. Says a guy who's won one playoff game in his entire career. That's going to rub people the wrong way. And the fact that he seems immune from understanding that is just strange to me because this is not a stupid guy.
He acts like he's a Bush family member. Like he has no idea what the price of milk is. Like, come on, Cam, $15 million. You're talking about a guy who just bought a toothbrush at the dollar store because I was like $6 at Safeway. I'm walking across the street to pay $1. It's a toothbrush.
Right.
You're telling me you can't live with $15 million? I made the Harmon and Benton point. Here's a bigger point to me, but I guess the kicker caved in, was Boz. Because, I know guys, they say, oh, he's just a kicker. Hey, Boz is pretty damn clutch, and they're just kickers until they start missing kicks.
That's right.
And the way Tomlin uses the field goal, like he's allergic to the end zone. I think we need a good kicker. So I would make sure Boz is happy. That's the guy I'm worried about.
Did he sign? I missed that.
No, but he didn't. He started kicking. He's not.
He ended the holding
in anymore.
Yeah, he dressed for the preseason game the other night. So apparently and maybe they'll take care of him at some point. He was probably the best kicker in the league last season. So there's something to be said for that. But it's just frustrating because I felt like with the Steelers, they've had a pretty good camp. They're healthy. I think there's a legitimate feeling of optimism. And now you have this cloud just kind of hanging over it. And Cam's the last guy you would have guessed that would have done this. And it's just, there's just a selfishness to so many guys on that team. And listen, and I'll include TJ, and I like TJ, okay? But we know damn well that he had to be paid more than Myles Garrett or he was going to bitch, okay? And it's like, again, when does it stop? Like just because the Browns, and Garrett's a great player, just because the Browns felt like going crazy and giving him $40 million a year, that forces the Steelers to do it. That's where we are. It's just this little contest about, well, I should have been Defensive Player of the Year, or well, I'm the 22nd highest paid defensive tackle in the league. Like, it's selfishness, it's greed, it's ego. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not saying it's not understandable to some extent. We all like to make money, but that's what it is. And those things don't win championships. They don't.
They're just a very, very unlikable bunch of people. Other than, half the people can't stand, can't stand our quarterback because whatever his politics, whatever his thoughts are, he's one of the only likable guys on the team.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Every time he's interviewed, I'm like, yeah, I'm actually I'm enjoying the Aaron Rodgers.
He says how much he loves football and wants to be here. Like, yeah, because let him play. Like, you always hear, we don't want, whatever we don't want whatever inmates or whatever we want volunteers. Yeah, it's like, well, it just, especially guys who have never won anything. And you know what? There's a lot of fans that now is like, oh, they enjoy being Steeler fans more than they actually look at the team and realize who they're cheering. Because it used to be, I know, I'm the old school guy. It used to be even our bad guys. You want to say like like Arnie Holmes or Lambert or even Greg Lloyd. They didn't pull this crap.
No,
it's like the Steeler way was the Steeler way, and it was handled in-house, whether it was Mr. Rooney or whether it was Chuck or Mean Joe or Lambert or Cower or Ben or Polamalu or Aaron Smith. It was all handled in-house. Now there's not one guy other than Aaron Rodgers that looks like a leader on that team.
No, I agree. People, went nuts when they signed Rodgers because they don't like him, whatever. And everything I've heard from people I know who cover the Steelers, I say, this guy's been great. Like, not only does he say all the right things, but he looks really happy to be here. His teammates genuinely seem to like him. He's taken a lot of time with the younger players and worked with them. And there it is, a player at the end of his career, presumably in his last year. He just wants to win. He just wants to go out on a winning note. And I wish Cam Hayward would feel the same way.
Got his own. Got to get his own.
We're on the time crunch, so I want to get this point in about the running game. That the rookie, he doesn't look like Tony Dorsett wrapped in Earl Campbell. That I was told by Mark Cavalli and others for the last 2 months. And we still got the little guy. The little guy isn't allowed to touch the ball because heaven forbid he'll get hurt in a preseason game. He can't get any reps in, which to me is ridiculous. So now, who knows what the running game is going to be? Our two tackles, everyone's worried about a little pretty decent pass protection, I will say. But who knows about the running game? And a lot of people couldn't wait to run Najee Harris out of town. And I was like, hey, Najee gets 1,000 yards and never complains and runs hard and gets hit 5 times by everybody behind the line of scrimmage. Now all of a sudden, we don't know what we got, but we could have had Najee for decent money one more year and maybe got a wide receiver or another offensive lineman with that draft pick. Because Najee, I'm going to say this, it was like I said about Fleury. Hey, it's hard to replace a guy that plays every game, never complains, and gets 1,000 yards.
No, that's a fair point. And from everything we have heard, the Steelers have not been able to run the ball well in training camp at all. They didn't really look great trying to run the ball, at least early in the preseason games in the first two. And they've come out throwing a lot in these two games. And I know it's just preseason, so it's not like they're game planning and Rodgers hasn't even played. But it's just interesting to me how pass heavy. I wonder if this team is going to throw the ball maybe more than people expect. And I wonder if part of that is because they might not be able to run the ball as well as they would like. That certainly would be an issue. We'll see. I thought Broderick Jones actually played pretty well in the last two games. In fact, both tackles did that. That's pretty exciting. There's a lot of talent on that offensive line. Maybe it will gel at some point, but if they can't run the ball, we know that's going to be a problem. It's going to bite them at some point. Because I think Rodgers is going to have a really good year. He can still play. He'll be fine. But this isn't like 2010 Aaron Rodgers either. He needs a running game against some of the best teams on their schedule. That's just the way it is.
Well, and here's the problem, guys, that the way they're running now, it's like it's going to be it's going to be 2nd and 9. It's going to be 2nd and 11. I'm not saying you have to be able to run the ball like the 67 Packers, but when you run, because they're going to run on first down. That's just what they do. And
Right.
if they're going to get nothing every time, it's going to put Rodgers and Broderick Jones in a bad position every single drive.
Yeah. I mean, there is the theory of you throw to open up the run game, but that's like not an older Aaron Rodgers who's getting rid of the ball quick. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to necessarily loosen up the box if you're getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds flat. So
It all goes back to the offensive line. It always does. Like, if those guys can, finally, be as good as their talent indicates they should be, they might have something. And one last thing, Joe, by the way, we were talking about this earlier, this team not being likable. Like, there's a lot of talent on this defense. It should be good. But will they just shut the hell up? There's guys on this defense that have never played one game for the Steelers saying this could be the greatest defense of all time. And even Tomlin last week, was it with Bob Labriola, I think, for Steelers.com, said that this defense can do historic things. Like, what the hell is he doing?
He better be right.
Does he need to say that before? Like, this is the guy who won't say anything. Just kisses the ass of other teams. And all of a sudden, he said we can do historical things on defense before the season even starts. Like, you better if you're going to say that. Really strange. I wish they would just shut the hell up.
It seems like everyone in this organization, except for Aaron Rodgers, thinks they're playing for the Arizona Cardinals.
I know what you mean.
That's a good
Not
point.
very-
It's going to be a historic defense. You got to be kidding me.
Like, the last time we saw you, you gave up 300 yards rushing in a playoff game. So just pipe down a little bit, maybe.
You don't have any players on this team except maybe 90 that are even second team all Steeler defense all time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because here's no, hey Cam, LC Greenwood, Aaron Smith. We'll see you in the press box. You're on the taxi squad.
Oh man. Yeah, they're just
I'm glad you made that point though, John. Because I was thinking about it, and I was like, I can't always be the guy that craps on it.
Like Thornhill,
On the new
like
regime.
mouthing. Like Thornhill wasn't good enough to play for Cleveland, and he's mouthing off about the Steelers. Like, just like, go prove
Remember-
it. That'd be great. But like, what are
who's
you
the guy that
I'm sorry, Corey. And they're really good at stopping, DK Metcalf and the 8 guys that are like fifth receivers. Then, then the Bucks got like 5 actual NFL receivers. They got blown up in practice.
right?
Yeah.
So, and that's nothing to freak out about. But again, just shut the hell up and play for a little while. Maybe this team clearly likes itself way too much. Like that can be a very dangerous thing.
I literally said that as I was postulating my theory. I said, well, if the Steelers defense is as good as they think they are, then we're in great shape.
Right. Aaron Rodgers is the only humble one among us. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the guy that everybody thought was a total jag has
great,
come in and just been fine. And for those of you who haven't listened, DVE did a fantastic interview with. I mean, they did like 15 interviews in one episode, and but I think they're the only local media that got Aaron Rodgers to sit down. So they had him for like 20 minutes. It was fantastic. It really gives you good insight into
Every
the type
time
of
he
guy.
speaks, I find him very interesting. I do. I mean, he's cut
Seems
from
like
a different cloth, but that's okay.
Yeah,
He's been
we
great.
all are, everybody's got their things.
That's right.
He likes to go sit in darkness and we're
So does Sidney
still,
Crosby after playoff losses. See,
yeah, exactly. It comes full circle. Sid's darkness retreat was the last night he spent in Mellon Arena.
Yep.
That's
But
full. That's full circle there.
Yeah,
This podcast.
real.
I'm on 3%, and I literally got to run.
Joe's got a show.
But this has been a great episode. Thank you, fans, for watching, listening. Thank you, Bill Neofist, and I will catch you guys next week.
Yep, and if you guys are in Boston, go check out Joe this weekend on Saturday at the Boston.
2 shows, Boston Comedy Studio,
Excellent.
Harvard Square.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.